It's June 1944. The beaches of Normandy are still raw with the smoke of battle. Above head, German V-1 buzz bombs are soaring through the air, their pulse jets droning like angry wasps. But today, there's something new waiting for them. Something that can see through the clouds, track an object moving faster than the human eye is capable of, and tell a gun the exact moment it needs to shoot. Germans thought their V-1 rockets would be unstoppable, but today they're getting introduced to the SCR-584. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Payson, and this is the Hourglass, where today we're going to take a look at the radar that would become the best friend and ultimate dance partner for the proximity fuse. During World War II, anti-aircraft gunnery was a frustrating game of guesswork, as without a reliable way to track the enemy, especially traveling at higher speeds, they were relying mostly on luck and partly on the ability to see their tracers and walk them into the target. By 1944, it was evident that the Allies had to do something different, with two major threats looming overhead. The first being the German bombing raids at night with their high-flying bombers, and the second was the V-1 rockets, an unmanned missile that could cover just over a mile in under 4 seconds. And yes, the Allies did have the newly developed VT, or proximity fuse, at the time, but that still relied on a gunner being able to put shells close enough to target. And with the invention of the new SCR-584, that was now possible. The SCR-584, or Set Complete Radio 584, which that monomer would later get misinterpreted to Signal Corps Radio, as many people know it today. But the original SCR-584 was born at the Radiation Laboratory at MIT, part of a crash program to develop better radars overall for everything from submarines to aircraft. And its design goals, although turned out to be very good, were huge ambitions at the time. It needed to track small, fast targets automatically, feed live coordinates directly to the anti-aircraft gun directors, and it needed to work in all weather, all day, all night. What made it revolutionary wasn't the fact that it could detect enemy aircraft, as that was becoming a more modern thing at the time. It was no longer a unique feat for radar that was becoming very standard practice. What set this one apart was that it would lock on and track automatically to any targets that it did find. It means it didn't need a human hand to spin the dish. It had servos that would just adjust the antenna and keep the target centered to within a fraction of a degree. By late 1943, prototypes were being tested, and one famous trial even saw this radar track an artillery shell in flight, proving that it was capable of handling fast, small-moving objects. The SCR-584 operated in the S-band at around 2.7 to 2.9 gigahertz, with a parabolic dish mounted inside a radome, and the whole thing sat upon a rotating base like a turret. Here's how it worked. In order to acquire a target, the operator would make a wide sweep to spot a target blip on the screen. In order to lock on, they would just get it centered, and at that point, the system would switch to the automatic tracking mode. It would then begin the data feed process, and it would continually send range, azimuth, and elevation data to a fire control computer, oftentimes being the M9 gun director. For the firing solution, the M9 would calculate where the target would be when the shell would arrive, and with proximity fused ammo, all that we needed to do was be relatively close to the target. This meant that a target could be engaged with seconds, and there was no need to lead by guesswork and walk your bullets in. You could have trust in the system that the first couple of shots would be on target. This radar would make its combat debut in 1944 with just enough time to show up for the V-1 blitz over London. Working in batteries with the M9 gun director, they boosted kill rates in the area from originally shooting down maybe one out of every 100 V-1 rockets to some areas boasting upwards of over 70% interception rates. During the Allies' advance through Europe, they would take the SCR-584 and make mobile versions called the SCR-784 for protection of bridges, command posts, and supply dumps from low-level air attacks. In the Pacific, they would help shield the invasion force from kamikaze pilots. And the combination of the radar plus the proximity fuses would make what is, according to General George Kenney, one of the most devastating anti-aircraft systems of the war. The SCR-584 didn't just win battles, it shaped the future. Its automatic tracking principles would evolve into modern fire control radars and space tracking systems. Post-war, surplus units were adapted for weather research, tracking storms, and measuring wind profiles. Today, the descendants of this radar tech guide missiles, track satellites, and even control air traffic. The proximity fuse would give the shell a brain, but the SCR-584 would be its eyes. Together, they made the skies above the Allies a far more dangerous place for enemy aircraft, and in a war where seconds meant lives, this was the kind of partnership you needed to have on your side. As always, thank you for joining me in the Hourglass, and I hope to see you next time.